Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 132, featuring 2 films by Alan Pakula. Now you notice I almost put up 3 films because he is famous for his Paranoia trilogy, which are Klute and Parallax View and All the President's Men. However, we've already covered All the President's Men, so we're going to go ahead and just talk about Klute and the Parallax View. Parallax View came out in 1973, featuring Warren Beatty. And Klute came out in 1971, featuring Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland. Now, these are great films and nominated for several Oscars, including probably Jane Fonda's best performance she ever gave, which she won an Oscar for, and really, really great stuff, and very excited to talk about these things. We also talk a whole lot about Gordon Willis, who is the cinematographer in these things and did an amazing job for the cinematography that he did. And gotta say that Klute is one of the most interesting lighting of any movie ever made. So really great to be able to put that out there. I don't really have that many announcements. You know, this is winding up towards the end of the year. We, of course, are still going to be recording podcasts and doing watch parties. We had a really fun watch party this last weekend. And if you'd like to join us on any of these things, it's a lot of fun. Our Twitch is mostly where we can see things, and that's twitch.tv/martini_giant. Again, twitch.tv/martini_giant. But we do YouTube lives as well. And those are a lot of fun, and that's where you get all our YouTubes, including this video right here if you'd like to watch it. And that is youtube.com/@martinigiant. youtube.com/@martinigiant. Do live events there, as well as anything pre-recorded, including stuff that's not actually podcast. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. But for now, enjoy Klute and the Parallax View. Okay, so the movies we're talking about today are going to be Parallax View and Klute. These are 2 of the 3 trilogy films from Pakula, the third one being All the President's Men, which we've already covered. Yep. So we're only doing 2 of them. I wanted to do Parallax View because it was something that Daniel and Eric have brought up quite a bit recently, and I figured, well, let's keep going on it and talk about it. In fact, you have a couple stories, Daniel, that you try to recreate shots from Parallax Views.
It's recently become very true. Yeah, so, like I am obsessed with. I love Parallax View in particular. The Parallax View is like one of the most iconic paranoia movies of all time. It's very creepy and very funny. We'll talk about it. But its opening shot has always sort of mesmerized me. And I've been to Seattle many times, and the opening is in Seattle. And we'll talk about it. There's an assassination at the Space Needle. And the opening shot is of this classical Native American, what do you call it? The sculpt, it's
I know
it's a totem pole, right? And so and it's it starts on this, and then the camera slides sideways, parallaxing the view, and it slides sideways, and you see behind it is revealed the Space Needle, and it's a fucking great shot. It's just one of these great shots. And every time I've been to Seattle, I keep on promising myself I'm going to go to the Space Needle and find
a waiter
and see if that somebody. Yeah, I'm going to shoot. Actually, because the waiter is the guy who's going to get blamed. I'm going to go up on the roof. But I want to go to the Space Needle, and I'm going to see if that is if there really is a totem pole there, or if that's a fake or a set or just something done for the movie or whatever. But all the times I've been to Seattle, I've been there and I even looked around and I didn't spot it. But until this year, when I went on a road trip with my eldest son, we went up there and we scouted, and he was like, we're going to find this. I know you are obsessed with this. We're going to find this. And so we dug all around. We finally find out what the totem pole was, who the artist was, where the location was, and found it in the sort of the backside of the park. and I, on my phone, recreated the shot from Parallax View, which was very exciting for me. And then recently, just last week, as Chris and I are out scouting for a project that we're all involved in, we happened to be at Griffith Park, and we saw the tiny little train that is also in Parallax View. And this sort of completes, or at least adds to, the fact that I also lived nearby the Parallax Corporation building set down.
My daughter went to
Koreatown.
school next door to that.
Yeah, it's spectacular. So like my life is very Parallax View centric, which is a very Parallax experience.
Yep.
Like it starts to seem a little conspiratorial that so much Parallax View is entered.
And I was thinking on this one, and we'll talk about it, but like that interior was the new convention center.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. That looks. I mean, there's no way you could have
That's the
big a
convention
space.
center.
Oh, not in that building. No, it's definitely
No. That building's small, but like
Yeah.
that's the convention center downtown. I think it was probably brand new.
Just brand, yeah, because a little
Well,
spacey.
it's the South Hall, so which the old hall, obviously, but yeah,
it's huge.
it's massive. But that looks about right because I've set up stages in there and stuff. So
I think that
Did you have a golf cart?
did not have a golf cart.
Did you shoot anybody and get blamed for it? But yeah, like Parallax View is for now the 70s. What defines 70s movies in general is their cynicism. I think that is the overarching thing that affects most great films in the 70s.
They are cynical of people.
Yeah, because of the Vietnam War and Nixon and all these big terrible things that happened, and assassinations of people, and
like
a
Robert
bunch of
F. Kennedy.
assassinations.
Because this assassination was sort of, I hate to say modeled, but the idea was around Robert F. Kennedy. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Who Beatty was involved with and campaigned with.
Yes, that's right. And so, the opening of Parallax View is not a recreation of the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, but it's
pretty close.
It's in a
because
restaurant.
Sirhan, well, he came out of the large hall, but Sirhan was dressed as a waiter.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
He came out,
he tried to run away through the kitchen.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. He was in the kitchen.
He was in the kitchen. Yeah. And this is another thing is I also lived about a block from the actual assassination site.
I used to go hang out there when it was empty.
Gaylord
A friend of mine managed that, but in the 90s, when I would come out to LA, I would hang out with him at work, and it'd be the empty Ambassador. And he rented it out for like True Romance and stuff like that.
Right.
And I would just hang out and write and do work out of Sammy Davis's old suite, which was
wild,
empty.
Dude. That's
and
great.
Talked to this guy named Frank, who was, that's my old neighborhood in LA because I live just down the street from it. But Frank was there. And then he showed me, he did the recreation walkthrough from the Venetian through
incredible. Sure.
To the kitchen area. And
That's
then
awesome.
the frame where the FBI took out, and he was kind of giving me his breakdown because he was there, but in the back towards the machines, the dishwashing machines.
Right.
He was like 80. They just paid him just because they felt bad. And he was a nice guy, but he said he started off when they used gold coins, and he was like a out shoeshine boy and out helping out with the luggage, a bellhop when he was like 14.
Wow, that's crazy.
In the 20s.
Yeah.
Crazy stories. So he saw everybody, and he was there that day for the assassination. But
that's wild.
Everybody in like the first Academy Awards.
Yep.
And what's interesting is they tore it down. It was my old neighborhood, and they built
a
high school.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was talking to a guy about this because I said I used to come out and I used to hang out there when it was empty. And they actually put a plaque for Frank in the high school.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's cool.
So I was like, that's really sweet. He was so old. I have old photos of him and like just walking around empty place. I did some of it on my Instagram. You can see my old Ambassador photos, and maybe I'll share those with you guys. They're so fun.
Oh, sure. That's amazing.
Just the empty place, sun setting. I would just walk around, take photos, and wait for my friend to finish work.
I used to go drinking all the time at the HMS Bounty across the street. Yeah, it's one of my favorite bars. But it's still. I mean, like it still has a spooky side. I walked by it actually. I was walking all the way down Wall Street the other day, and I walked by that, And it's like there's still something very spooky about this scene. It's very strange, a very strange atmosphere. But a wild part of town. But yeah, so like the parallax interconnections continue. And I'm very happy to be covering this today because I've seen this movie 1 million times.
Yeah.
I think
You've seen it before.
I have seen it before. I've seen both these films before. It's been a long time. I just Parallax View is a little goofy to me.
Oh, it's 100% goofy. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's on purpose goofy.
Sure.
Like, it's like,
but it feels a little QAnon.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely true.
But that's the whole.
That's
era
the beauty
was,
of it.
I know.
It's so excessive and ridiculous.
Yes.
But it keeps it like it plays both hands at the same time. It's treating it very seriously, but then it pushes it as far and as silly as it can possibly go. And it's I don't know, to me that's sort of beguiling because it's both hilarious and you still go, well, maybe. Like given the actual nonsense that really happens in the world, when you find out with the things that happen,
sure,
you go like,
there was
it's not impossible.
There was this whole Star Chamber aspect to it as well, which it was so predominant at the time. And I actually, upon watching it again, I really think there was this commentary on a certain church in LA.
There's a touch of that, yeah. Like they bring in it brings in everything. That's the beauty of the movie.
It does do
the
that.
The literature aspect and the kind of the way everybody kind of
the questions
out.
and getting absolutely true.
Like it's totally the mother of all conspiracy events.
I think the thing that made me go like a little bit this time is I think when I started to realize the parallels, and we brought this up just before recording. Fletch and this movie are very similar.
I felt the same way.
Fletch outright steals from this movie.
Fletch steals from this, but all the Hugh Cronin stuff scenes was totally Fletch.
Yeah, outright Fletch. I love Fletch. No harm to Fletch, but like Fletch is just like, you know what I love? The Parallax View. Let's cast Chevy Chase.
Yeah. You know who also liked the Parallax View? Jim Jones of Jonesville guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that Jim may be taking it a different way than I do.
Jonestown guy. Yeah.
He did.
He did. He loved it. He forced all of his people to watch it over and over again.
Well, because like this is the thing, right? It's like Parallax View is very intentionally. I mean, there are scenes that are straight up Burt Reynolds goofball car chase wacko in this.
Oh
in this movie.
That jump where the car jumps.
The car jumps.
It's total
the bar
Smokey
fight. It's Smokey and the Bandit. It's absolutely Smokey and the Bandit. And like, it's not like Alan Pakula knows how to control the tone of his movies. You see, like All the President's Men, he knows exactly what he's doing. Or Clute, right. So these are really, really intentional choices, and the entire idea of the Parallax Corporation is like that's beyond like Robert Ludlum silly. Like it's Fantasyland silly, right? Mm-hmm. But the beauty, like, I think the reason why I respond more and more to this movie is that the actual world, like, I don't believe in conspiracy theory elements of the real world, but certainly the bullshit that people accept in the real world is as silly and fucked up as is represented in this movie. Like that you have, like, the entirety of QAnon, it's something in this sort of reverse parallax view. It's like if QAnon itself is a parallax corporation created by itself, by people that want so much to believe in this that they affected the presidency of the United States. Like the absolute fantasy. Because like what's really interesting about the Parallax Corporation's intent is like, we're just going to manipulate people into their own fantasies and then make use of them. Right?
No, they answer it. They answer it where he's in the apartment with him and he's like, I get a great satisfaction helping people who are on the cusp, who can't really work with others. It's really their belief is like, I'm helping humanity, almost like the Scientology thing.
Yeah, very true. Right.
But what they're doing is helping humanity and gathering all these people who are misfits in some ways.
Yes.
And then basically monetizing them out to businesses in order to
Right.
kill people. But they think they're doing God's work in their own perspective.
Exactly, and this is true for the unnamed church-like object in Los Angeles. It's true for the.
We said it a couple times already.
It's
I said it, so I'm the one
It
that's
is
going to
true
get in
for
trouble.
QAnon. Like what the movie is pointing out is like this structure, as goofball and bullshit as all of this is, this structure actually exists. It's just you don't need a corporation to control it. People do this naturally of themselves, and then real corporations take advantage of them. Like, which is what happened with, say, Scientology. That's what happened with QAnon. The Trump Corporation was like, look at this fucking crazy group of people. Look at these boobs. We can make this work. And
By
so,
the
like,
way, do you know who owned the ambassador when I was visiting it?
who?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing, dude. It's like,
See, it's all a
it
conspiracy.
is. Like, what's amazing to me about, say, things like QAnon is that QAnon is actually a massive conspiracy of people who
I don't know a lot about it. I don't know a thing about it.
It's wild. It's
Hey,
truly
You
wild.
should watch a documentary on it.
No,
It's truly
just,
wild.
There's only so much of my life I can give to stupidity.
Well,
and that's
it's-
why I don't want to know.
But that
Like
stupidity is manipulating all of American politics.
It's a combination, because another one is the what's the other? There's two more. First of all, there's the Epstein group, right?
What is
another-
that?
Which
The-
is
the
another
pizza thing.
Yeah, that's the QAnon.
That's
business.
QAnon.
But like Epstein and child prostitution, like knowing like the reality of that ring is just incredibly shocking to me, right? And there's no like, it's just people like with a Venn diagram of worse and worse interests supporting each other. Like there's no like organized evil corporation.
It's eyes wide shut.
It's Eyes Wide Shut. Like I was like, Eyes Wide Shut is real? No. Or the sex ring with the sort of like the Tupperware or Amway version of the sex trafficking. What was it called? The HBO did a documentary on. Like
What?
where you're just like, you can't believe these things are actual. And for the most part, like especially with QAnon, like there is no QAnon corporation running QAnon. It's just a mental addiction to the idea of conspiracy, right? That builds on itself. And then corporations like Trump take advantage of it as if they grew it. And I'm just like, this is the reality of the world is as silly as Parallax View is, intentionally silly. Like it really does represent how the world works. It's just that it's not an evil corporation that's running everything. It's us. Like we're the crazy ones. It's corporations just take advantage of that. And
You want to do the
bizarre.
summary of what this is real quick? Because what I want to
Sure.
do is, instead of going through it scene by scene, we're gonna go through it quick so we can have more in-depth conversations.
Yeah. Okay. So like very, very quickly, this is a Parallax View is a hyper paranoid thriller that is it's 98% a thriller, 2% a comedy. Of Warren Beatty is
Who is
a
reporter.
right? He's a reporter. He is present during an assassination attempt or an actual assassination at the Space Needle of this major government figure. And everyone who was there over the next few years...
He wasn't there.
Yeah,
was
he
rejected.
was
He
kept
wasn't
out,
allowed
yes.
in.
He was on the
wasn't
Space,
allowed in.
Space Needle.
Right.
But without complicating it, like he was in the area and his friend was in the room, right?
Right.
When the assassination happened, everyone who was a witness, who was a direct witness to what the real killer was, dies of some strange accident or circumstance over the next 5 years.
5 years.
Right. And so it's slow enough that it's like, well, he had a heart attack, or oh, that guy went nuts, or that it was a car crash.
Oh, wait, three people died. No, there's actually 6 people that have died.
Yeah,
6 people died.
And his
And
friend
then
comes to him
another
like,
person dies,
I'm
and
going to
then
be killed.
I'm going to be killed. And then
He's like,
"You're
yeah, sure.
You're paranoid, and then she's killed.
Then she's killed.
Right.
And so he starts to investigate it.
Yes.
And to super short version is as he investigates, and he sort of goes undercover in various guises, he becomes aware of a corporation called the Parallax Corporation, which may be behind this assassination because it's a company that develops assassins for political use, right? And he digs deeper and deeper into it, going all over the country, and he meets weirder and weirder people, and stranger shit
All
happens.
connected.
And it all is like this massive web of conspiracy. And then in the end, he finds himself at this convention center where another major political figure is going to be giving a speech, and he's practicing the speech with, the band there to do a rehearsal and all this kind of stuff. And he's hiding to find the killer who's going to try and kill the guy. And then the guy is shot, and someone points up at him and says, "There's the shooter." And you realize
that
he's
like
the entire movie is a fucking frame for Warren Beatty to be framed as the mad assassin who went crazy and killed this government guy. Right. And so all the weird shit that's been happening has actually been, built by the Parallax Corporation to put Beatty in the position of being a patsy for an assassination that they do. And even he's trying to join the Parallax Corporation and all these weird little adventures he gets into. Trying to infiltrate it. But in the entire time, they are not only onto him, like this is the gag, like this is what they are doing with him, and they rope him into being in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. Put a
knowing
gun in his
that
hand,
you can never
that.
win. What's the point of it's like
Right.
you're just going to be like a sheep, sheep.
So he's stuck up there. He's stuck up and way up in the rafters.
Yeah. And so he sees that there's a gun waiting for him, like, oh fuck, I'm the patsy, right? And he tries to run to get out. And one of my favorite ending shots ever. He tries to run out this door. A shadow appears in the doorway, raises a shotgun. Kaboom! And kills Beatty. And it's fucking amazing. It's great. And the thing is, the entire gag of the movie is that, especially living in those times and living in these times now, because the movie takes everything that happens, no matter how ridiculous it is, seriously, it creates that same unsettling tone that we currently experience of this world can't fucking be real. This can't be true. Donald Trump can't actually be fucking president of the United States. That doesn't make any sense. Right? And it simulates
he's
that
leading in many states.
Yeah, and yet he's again leading in many states. And so this is the creepy comedy of this movie is the world is as crazy as you think it is. We just made it into a movie for you and put movie tropes in there so you can both see how stupid it is and see that you're really in it.
We're just going to become sheep.
Yeah,
the fact that
wild.
You're so helpless is what bothers me every time I watch that film.
Yes.
Like you just talked about it. You can never win. Even if you are correct and right and how unjust it is, you still will get blamed and framed. And it almost makes things just sit on that trolley train and go around in a circle.
Exactly. That Eric, you fucking nailed it, because
that's the whole point of it.
That is the comedy of the movie. The movie you watch,
and
it,
the guy that does it is he goes to him for knowledge. So he's a really smart guy who's just playing the game.
And he's on a
train.
Kitty train.
Kitty train.
on a kitty train.
That's all we fucking are.
Yeah, why are they meeting on a kitty train?
That's what I'm
that's
talking
the story.
about.
That's the metaphor. Yeah, exactly.
That is the movie. The movie is just when we're talking about something actual, this is really happening, and I
That's
know
right.
it seems
You're on the
fucking
kitty train,
stupid.
and he's more knowledgeable than him, and he's seen
It's
like
amazing.
a renegade. It's like, well, be careful, don't rustle everything, but he does, and he gets blamed. So
there's no other movie that straddles this so well as this movie.
Well,
it's just
that's why
insane.
his movies are so beautiful.
Yeah.
I've always loved this film, and every time you watch it, it's like an onion you peel back, and it's very sophisticated, but it's also. You watch these movies back to back, and I own them, but the point is, back to back, you don't rent it, you just can put it on any time. Mm-hmm. The graphics and the use of still photography is, I think, blow up.
Yep.
Because he uses these graphical elements to help push a storyline. Even in Clute, and they freeze and do things, and the way graphics play a part of messaging.
Yeah, it's because it's the power of a single image is so much greater than something in motion.
That's right. And that's why, but then the repetitive nature, even in the movie in Parallax, but in Clute, you could see these cool, like the spelled backwards. It's so beautiful how it just comes. And that to me is really the beauty of it too, is that he understood all of that.
So like now Warren Beatty, I wasn't really aware of Warren Beatty until my late 20s, really. Like I knew him as like, the guy that did Dick Tracy and stuff like this. And I never really dug into his filmography, but I can tell you that he is maybe beyond Robert Redford, my favorite movie star of the period.
Yeah, he was amazing. For me, when I saw as a kid Splendor in the Grass, I could not stop crying. I mean, it was such an emotional film. He was a huge star, and his sister was even bigger 5-10 years prior to him.
Oh, really?
Yes, Shirley MacLaine.
That's right. I did know that, but I'd forgotten it. That's right. Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, but he was friends with all the studio execs. He was a huge womanizer, and he was a big player in the 60s.
And he was a hell of a producer. Yeah, I mean,
Shampoo's the 70s, but in the 60s when he was a young stud, I saw a photo of him with like all the old studio heads in like 1966.
Right.
So, and he's a super smart guy.
Yeah.
And I think they say he's the last. They said Paul Newman, but he was bigger than, and he was smarter than Robert.
Yeah, he's a real genius. I think Beatty was legit artist and genius, and that's why he did end up doing Shampoos, because he was really talking about his own image as a this Lothario sleeping around with everybody, and everybody was like he knew what he was portraying in that movie, and he was also sort of showing how lonely and choiceless that has become for him by that point, but you see like everything from Heaven Can Wait to Bonnie and Clyde to Parallax View to this guy is just like, and he is in artistic control of all of these stories. Like these are movies that he is driving to have
he also directed several scenes of Parallax View, even though it wasn't created, and he changed plots several times.
Yep.
So if he's involved, it's like Brad Pitt.
It's Beatty's film.
Yeah.
It's like bringing what's her name, Barbara Streisand in. I mean, she's going to take over behind the camera.
100%. And Beatty is of his own. Like I'm a huge fan of Reds.
Yes,
Reds is a wonderful, wonderful movie. And still, I like nobody has. I've never seen anybody talk about this. Interstellar, which I love. Interstellar, very widely loved science fiction film. The entire idea of Interstellar's interview with the Dust Bowl people that frames the movie is from Reds. Like that's the opening of Reds. And I'm just like, has no one fucking seen Reds? Like I think people have forgotten Reds, and it's an incredible film. And it's really the last great film he ever made, but it's really, really something. So he dominates the 70s for me. Even more so than Redford. Redford's in some of my favorite movies of the 70s. But the guy who's artistically controlling what is happening is, 30% Warren Beatty. And this is one of my, he is incredibly fucking cool in this thing. And he gets to have it all. He's got car chases. He's got fucking fights with fishing gear.
Yeah, it was a little bit Dukes of Hazzard, honestly.
It was a little Dukes of Hazzard.
It is.
A little Duke. You can't go wrong with a little Duke in your life.
Was so ridiculous.
It's fucking hilarious. It's so ridiculous. Like it is.
I was waiting for like dueling banjos.
Absolutely.
And what was the name of the town? Salmon Town or something?
Salmon Tail. And the thing is, here's I'll skip ahead to my favorite part of both of these movies, by the way. Is actually it's Gordon Willis's photography, but the second favorite thing is Pakula's bizarre sense of editing and storytelling is out of control, because especially in Parallax View, he just cuts out whole sections of lead up and explanation to scenes. He's like, I don't give a fuck if you understand what the setup is at all, and he just dives into the scene. So he will he'll be like, okay, so now he's in a bar, and then the next 20 minutes are going to be a bar fight with this sheriff. You don't even know why he's talking to this guy, and then they're going to be at a dam. You're like, what the fuck fuck is happening?
Yep.
You know, and like it's so.
Who was the waitress that was like hitting on him? Because
Oh
she
yeah,
looked
and he
familiar.
just like the martini. Yeah, you know that one was it 2 is not enough and 3 is too many. That
yeah. Martinis are like a woman's breath.
Yeah, exactly.
One doesn't make any sense, and 3 is too many.
3 is too many. That's right.
It's a good line,
man.
actually.
Yeah,
He's like, that's very funny.
Yeah. Well, and I love when
And then he
Beatty's
orders
just like,
milk.
yeah, and when the sheriff's son comes up to him, starts a fight, and he's just like, from back there, I couldn't tell if you're a man or a woman, but you're a woman, aren't you? And he just goes, yeah, I'm a woman. The way he fucking just goes, the way he just lays there, he's just like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Whatever.
Whatever, man.
Yep.
But like when it delivers the, like, it's just like, you want distracting entertainment, you fucking got it. Here's a good old Hollywood set bar fight throwing people through walls and shit, and followed by a Dukes of Hazzard car chase.
Yes.
Like,
Where
I'm
he's
wondering-
full of
I'm
violence,
wondering-
handing his head out the window.
It's Burt Reynolds.
But I'm wondering if that's like, because the previous film was Clute. So, and it's very, it's very tight, right? And the way it's shot. And I'm wondering if the studio is like, look, we need something to go beyond. We want your magic, but we need some events.
Something sellable, sure. Yeah.
Sellable. And I can see them, because otherwise I think...
Well, I think that the way that he chooses to do it is what makes this movie, like, I love those scenes, and I think they're part of why the movie feels the way that it does. Because when you play this kind of movie completely straightforwardly and seriously, it becomes po-faced. It's just like, no, it's very serious. You should understand America is a corrupt place. And you're just like, right?
Well, first of all,
this is a silly entertainment movie that makes you feel sick.
I'll just point out also that this movie must have been pretty freaking expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
They did some crazy
obviously
shit.
they didn't have CGI back then, right?
There's some
And
great
you
shots,
have an entire dam opening up behind
But
them.
that's just opening it up in some Oregon town. I mean,
I understand, but still, the time
it's a big
I
set
actually
piece.
think probably the most expensive part of that shoot,
was
the
blowing
whole
up of the
thing.
the boat. That was pretty.
No, that's
the
just
boat.
okay. They bought a
That's great.
boat and blew it up.
Yeah, I know, but the stunt man was on it.
It's like on fire.
Well, what
I'm saying-
I love it. Okay,
Here's
Eric, go ahead. Eric, go ahead.
He was at the bow.
Yeah.
The one was building out on the Space Needle top, plus
Oh
with
my
all
God,
the
yeah.
safety platforms underneath, because all those stunt guys were walking
Terrific.
around up there,
Yeah.
and that whole bottom
scary as fuck,
underneath
dude.
it, they must have built this huge section. So that's
Yeah.
very expensive.
I was watching that,
And the insurance.
I was watching that, and one of the
stunt
kids
stuff.
came, one of the kids came in and
was
was like, "Wait, are they actually filming this?" I was like, "That's real. They are really
Yeah.
fucking doing that on top of the Space Needle.
That's
scary
classic
as fuck.
stuntmen stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy stuff.
Yeah,
They-
just insane. It's just insane.
There's a new movie about stuntmen coming out.
Oh yeah, with lots of CG in it.
Yeah, no shit.
An enormous amount of non-stuntman CG.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that. That was Ryan.
Ryan.
I love Ryan Gosling.
So
I'll
do
probably
I.
end up seeing this movie, but I saw that ad and I was like, I think
It
this is
didn't
the
make
movie
sense
you
to me.
really should have done the stunt stuff in.
But they claim that he did.
Okay, maybe so.
They
They're covering it with
claim
a
that
lot
he
of CG.
did because that's the new line of Hollywood. This
Yeah.
is all in camp.
It's all real.
It's all real.
It looks like kind of shaky nuke compositing.
Yeah.
No offense. I'm sure we know people on board.
It's
that one.
fine. But what they didn't do that in Parallax View because
Holy
the stunts
shit,
are
no.
insane. First of all, there is a classic crazy Dukes of Hazzard car
Mhm.
jump.
Yeah,
With
which really
minus-
does need a banjo. That's my only critique.
Yes.
Like Eric, you're right. It's like you need the banjo in that scene.
No, you need the freeze frame when it goes. The boys were wondering.
Yeah,
Maybe
you,
they
need,
did get a
you need the
tank.
pigeon from Moonraker doing the double take.
Breaker.
That's what you need in that thing.
But the dam stuff was kind of insane. If you look, I mean, I
Oh,
used to
it's
take
fucking
that stuff
nuts,
for
yeah.
granted when I was watching as a kid. But now if I look at it now and thinking about filmmaking, it's like the water really opened up. That
It's
is
really
very
happening.
dangerous to be
Yeah.
there. And those stunt guys were
thousands of tons of water.
Rolling around in that shit.
Yeah.
And they're filming it the whole time. Like, I hope he doesn't drown.
And that scene, like, because I told you, Chris, like, I almost drove, me and my son almost drove to that dam. I was so obsessed with this movie. I was like, I got to see that fucking dam. It's way the hell up in there.
Oh, though. You went to that?
I almost did. We almost did.
Where is it? Is it in Oregon?
Yeah, it's in Washington State, I think. Actually, it might be in the very north of Oregon, but it's like that's way up there and hard to get to. But it's like that scene.
Is it by Salmon Tail?
I don't think Salmon Tail is real, but I love salmon. Yeah. But but that scene is iconic to me, not only for the visuals of the dam, but because they cut into that without explaining what the fuck is going on at all. Like, he's just there with the sheriff whose son he was just fighting.
No. So, like, okay, they do kind of explain
a little tiny bit, yeah.
So, first of all, after he breaks up, after he finishes the beating
the bar
up
fight,
the bar fight,
the slow motion throw through the wall bar fight.
He says, "You're the law. I'm the. We should call the police." It's like, I am the police, and he's the deputy. Have a seat. It was ridiculous anyway. But then he sits down with him at his house, which is, I'm going to go on a whole rant after this about Gordon Willis dark lighting, but oh my goodness.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But during that, he says, no, he was at a dam and he drowned. That's normal because the wall opened up. It's like, where's this dam? Then he's at the dam.
This is all you really know.
So at the dam. Because he's investigating. He's like, I could do some fishing.
The dude's name is Buster, right? That's the guy they're talking about, Buster. And so they're like, you just cuts to Beatty's at the dam, and Beatty's got his like rod and reel out, and it's just there.
And then
why is he fishing? Bought you a sandwich, and then just long
why
pause.
Does the sheriff bring him a sandwich?
And then like you hear this blah, 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 echoing crazily,
right?
And Beatty's like, so
is that the warning?
That's the warning, huh? Yep. And he didn't hear that? Huh. And then the sheriff just goes, I guess there just ain't no Buster, and attacks him. Like, and you're like, what? What is happening? And it's like the movie just keeps on throwing you off of any logical chain of thought over and over and over again, and barely getting you back into like, well, how did he get here? What's happening now? And then it will settle down to a really spooky, quiet little scene, like when the Parallax guy shows up at his apartment, and it's just like, and has basically kind of hits on him while he pretends to burn his hand on the pot, and these really strange little slow, spooky scenes. And then it will go to Dukes of Hazzard, and it's changing the tonal channel so much all the time that it feels crazy. Like the movie just feels nuts, And so by the end of the movie, like I'm in the mindset of Warren Beatty, who's ready to fucking believe anything. Like he's just like, this all makes sense. And that's the conspiracy mindset.
And what's the name of the guy who plays the dad in The Graduate?
Oh yeah. Shoot. Yes.
That's how you know it's a comedy.
That's how you know it's a comedy. You cast him. Yes. 100% true. 100% true. Like he is the sort of like, because he's more a television actor than he is a
that's
proper
the
movie
thing.
actor.
There were some television moments that you didn't see
exactly. Everything with,
but he's got
everything in that
voice. That voice is not a drama or a thriller voice.
Yeah, it's like, this is not a serious, like, it's not serious casting when you put that guy in there. It's comedy casting when you put that guy in there. And he's acting like all weird because he's worried that he's going to get assassinated. And he gets fucking blown up on a boat in the most spectacular Magnum PI style way you can. Like it's absolutely outrageous. The movie is just outrageous. And like when you move between, like this thing is sandwiched between Clute and All the President's Men, and those are the very serious slices of bread.
They told him, "Don't be serious."
Right.
Well, we got a broader audience.
I think that's true.
You think so?
Yeah, like I'm sure they did.
I think he was just having fun.
I think
there's stuff that's not against his style.
You're both right, because he's not just going like, I guess I'll throw this in. He's just like, I'm going to make this work for me. Like this doesn't fit, and I'm going to make that the signature of this movie. Like the movie is fucking Looney Tunes, and we need to make use of the things that the studio needs for a big Warren Beatty action movie. Let's do it. We can make it work. And the thing is, I really don't think the movie works without this fucking silly bizarreness.
Do you think, here's another theory of mine, weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon Willis, when shooting the Parallax Corporation and all the weird stuff like that, was thinking of Jacques Tati.
Oh, God, yes. Holy shit. Yeah, Playtime? Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
He's big, wide. I mean, such such the classic modernist photography.
You're talking about in
even outside
Parallax.
Yes,
in Parallax, but even in the assassination, like all this
I'm telling you,
hyper-colored
Clute, if you watch these back to back, Clute is so tight.
It is very tight.
And it's super tight that they must have said, "Look, you got Beatty. We got to go wide. We got to have some action." Yeah, and that's the response.
And that's the
Clute is super tight.
Like, because like this is why I love it so much, and this is why I think, because if he were to do this absolutely straightforward, seriously, and have it make logical sense, it defeats the point of the movie.
Yeah,
like that's why like it also works as Fletch, because Fletch just goes, what if we just make it more accessible and an obvious comedy? Then the movie works. But if you drive it all the way to the other end and say, what if it's super, super serious? Then you have this sort of dreary, non-believable Robert Ludlum movie, and you just go, oh, I mean, it's fine, but I don't really believe this is real. But what it actually does is replicate the feeling of being crazy, which is what everyone in that time period, I'm sure, was very familiar
They all were
with.
paranoid. Everyone was paranoid at that time.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I think you're probably right, Eric. Like, the studio is just like, what's really popular is that fucking boat chase from to Live and Let Die, whatever it is, and like stick that shit in there. But he makes absolute
instead
use
of
that.
saying we're going to kill that aide to the senator who was assassinated. Why don't we put him on a boat and blow the boat up?
And
why
blow
do we
the
have to
boat
have him killed in a parking lot of pavilions?
Right.
And that's basically, okay, we'll give you more money for it.
We'll do it. We'll do it. And it's going to be crazy because that dude's going to catch fire in
Was it
midair.
a popular? It did not get good reviews when it came out.
Really? Oh, it's hard for me to believe.
It
God.
later was seen as a classic.
Since the first viewing of this movie, I have been like an absolute ardent fan of this thing.
Okay, hold on a second. So, guys, keep talking.
But like, this is for me, there's another movie, like one step further than this is another movie that I also recommend, but is much harder to like. And that's called Winter Kills. And if you guys haven't seen Winter Kills, it's with Jeff Bridges. Actually, the cast is insane. But it's got like John Huston, Anthony Perkins in one of his best bits ever. And Winter Kills is like Parallax View times 10.
Wow.
It's so weird and so goofball and so sort of serious, but can't possibly be serious, that it becomes like almost Gilliam-esque in how strange it is. Yeah, I really it's like most people aren't going to like Winter Kills, but if you like any aspect of Parallax View, definitely try Winter Kills.
Okay. What year did that come out?
That's 81, I think. And it's a total paranoid conspiracy, dark, like it's a comedy, but it's a really fucking weird comedy. It's like if you tried to make It's a Mad World by John le Carré. Like, it's absolutely spectacular. And it may be my second favorite Anthony Perkins performance ever.
Huh.
Very
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins and like Psycho still the tops, but this is one sliver lower.
Not Psycho 2?
I like Psycho 2. Psycho's cause it's not nearly as good as Psycho, but Psycho 2 is actually a pretty good movie.
He directed that, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah. He directed. Yeah, he directed that one. Yeah, you're right. That's a fun one. It's a really fun movie. But he is fucking outstanding in Winter Kills. Wow, what a wild film.
Yeah.
So yeah, Parallax View. Parallax View is definitely like there's lots of great conspiracy movies in the 70s, like 3 Days of the Condor, another
love that
flawless movie. But I don't think there's anything so
Wait,
fun.
who directed 3 Days?
That's Sidney Pollack.
Pollock. That's right.
Yeah. And so, but this one, like, even if you just only stay for the serious bits, like it has some of my favorite editorial gags. There's like when in the beginning, the woman who comes to him, his friend who's like, I think I'm going to be killed. First of all, her performance is unbelievable. Like one of the best supporting roles I've ever seen, because she is absolutely, completely hysterical in a very, very realistic way. Like this woman is like panicked beyond belief that she is going to be killed, and Beatty's just blowing her off, right? And it's such a great.
What's funny is that he's blowing her off, even though he loves conspiracy theories.
Yes, exactly, right. And she's right there, and she is like sobbing and angry.
Well,
and
he
frightened.
thinks he's in control.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And in one of the best edits in 70s cinema, he's like, listen, you're hysterical, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you don't understand, freaking out. And like, they're going to kill me. They're not going to kill you. Everything's going to be fine. And then it just cuts to her dead on the slab in the morgue.
So good.
Like
and
immediately.
It's like instantly. There's no one, like, there would have been any other movie, there would have been like, and then she goes back to her car and a villainous looking man follows her.
Nope.
And then blah, blah, blah. No, none of that. Fuck all that. Like, she's just dead. He should have listened. and there's so many golden moments like that in this movie. It's out of this world.
Yeah.
But talk about some Gordon Willis. You have some thoughts on Gordon Willis?
I mean, I just think he was brilliant, what he did. It's just so hard. And I just remembered stories about Gordon Willis when they were shooting The Godfather, right? Because people who are watching dailies of The Godfather are like, I can't see a fucking thing.
I can't see what's happening.
It's so dark.
That guy, and this is not like you have a video village, man. Like you can't tell at all.
No.
You're like, I hope we got it.
Video village.
No, it's the whole thing is like, it's shot with like one candle, like, oh, I think I see a person. And he loves people as outlines. Loves people as
Beautiful.
outlines.
Yeah.
I think he also did Clute, right?
He did
Yeah.
Clute as
Yeah,
well,
because you can see
He
when
did all the President's Men too.
Man, all the stuff when she's in that factory for the clothing.
Oh my God.
Man.
Is that not Blade Runner with all those?
I was going to say this. I was going to say Ridley Scott saw Clute and was like, this is the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, I thought there was part of it looked a little bit like, what's the Peter Greenaway, cook, wife, thief, and his lover.
The cook, the thief, wife, and lover. Yeah. Like
had a little bit of that. What's going on here?
Yeah, like because there's
labyrinth a little bit. Too.
Yeah, well, because like in both Clute and in Parallax View, like there are shots that look like if no one was moving, it looks like sort of like a mahogany frieze.
Right.
Like it's
they're
just like
very painterly.
Yeah, it's just extraordinary. Like there's so little light. The light that's there is just like sort of a very, very warm.
Everything's
close.
Warm.
Yeah, like it's unbelievable.
Like very Dutch though.
Yes.
Like in the kind of the tone, like Rembrandt, but also like I'll come up with it, but it's definitely that
Rembrandt's
kind of,
exactly right. Yes,
the ochre tones.
Yeah.
Like there was always that, and it's beautiful the way the light sources are. Totally dig it.
Yeah, because it's and who did
has almost like the what's the Danish, not Danish, Dutch masters who did all the. That's what I was. But who did the still lifes? Like you know what I mean?
Vermeer. There's Vermeer.
Yeah.
There's Van Dyke. There's I'll come up. Anyway, that's what I was thinking. Like really that Dutch and Flemish school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's it? There's another great painter that I love. I can't think of his name. I'm trying to look it up right now. His most famous painting is the taking. Oh yeah, Caravaggio. Like it has a very Caravaggio look, right?
Well, he's an insane person who murdered people.
Oh yeah. Caravaggio is one of my all-time. I ripped off Caravaggio like my whole career.
Yeah,
and he's a horrible person, drunken rapist, murderer.
And he was murdered
amazing.
on a beach like Pasolini, not far.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a whole church in Malta that has all of his paintings in there. Tons of his paintings in there. It's quite crazy. Huge.
Oh, God. They must.
Yeah,
That must
and
be
then there's
exciting.
Santa Maria del Popolo with the Martyr of St. Matthew in Rome, and it's
Mhm.
there. That's one of my favorites. Beautiful.
But yeah, these are like, this is all of Willis's influence. Like I would say, like
High contrast too.
high
Very
contrast. Who's the other wonderful painter? They did the 3rd of May, and the giant. I can't remember the name of the guy. Anyway, like it's just like you'll have maybe one bright spot in the frame, like, and by bright I mean dark yellow, right? And then you think there's nothing but black for the rest of the frame, and then it holds on it long enough for your eyes to adjust, and you're like, no, there's Jane Fonda.
Yes. Yep.
Like there it is. There, I see her now.
You keep struggling to see the actual people.
Yeah,
Which is
but
interesting.
it's so worth it. And so, like, to see that guy, can you imagine being Gordon Willis and they're like, okay, Gordon, we've been shooting some beautiful stuff of Hume Cronin and his lunch, but wait till we take on Dukes of Hazzard. Like, he's like, could we shoot this at night and have a candle on the dash? That'd be perfect.
Yep. Did you guys see that? We put it on we were on our Discord this week. I saw that the new Sony camera. It's insane.
Oh,
Yeah.
good God. Yeah. I couldn't believe it when I read the specs on that thing. Insane. The first global shutter.
Global shutter.
Yeah. No actual physical shutter at all.
They don't need
No.
one.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Nothing. What does that do? Like, I was like,
Coming out in spring.
that's insane. And it's
And
only
it
like
can shoot up to 80,000th of a second. Speed.
Jesus Christ.
That can,
And it's basically always filming. And when you're pressing the button,
Right.
you're just taking selects.
right.
There's
There's several ways.
6,000 for the body.
that seems worth it. That seems like a
Yeah,
decent
that's
investment.
cheaper than a Leica.
Yeah, right. And
Cheaper
like,
than a
it's,
Hasselblad.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
it is, I hate to say this, only 24 megapixels.
That's good
only.
though.
Oh, I guess
Because that's how it can, because otherwise it'd be way too much to
Your
buffer.
data, but that's
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
like the first A7S was 14 megapixels,
Right.
and their algorithms deal with a low light. That's why I like the Sony cameras.
bigger pixels.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's the way they can do it and get away with it, and deal with the ISO and low light. But they make all the Sony's, I think, are the best cameras. I mean, people would fight me,
Well,
but
they definitely are the best sensors because everyone buys their
everyone uses
sensors.
their sensors. Yes,
Right. So all the sensors in all
And
your
TVs.
iPhones are all Sony sensors.
and the TV backings, like because Sony TVs have the best black levels, I personally feel, and most of those range of TVs, certain ranges, they all use just the Sony screen, or
I
chipsets
don't
in
think
it.
so. Actually, LG makes way more screens.
I think the Sony chipset, Sony chips and TVs.
Chips is probably true. Chips may be true, but the actual panels is LG is by far.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, but they're using their Sony chips for color, for the software,
Right.
because they handle color, I feel, the best, like black levels, everything.
Yeah. So let's talk about Clute. Who wants to
That's clear.
give a little bit of a story on Clute?
Well, Clute's a very simple story.
It is,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Like, it's very extremely straightforward. Eric, do you want to take this one, or should I do it?
I can do it. It starts off essentially, I think it's Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yes.
see people at a dinner table, and it's very kind
Thanksgiving dinner kind of thing.
of Thanksgiving, yeah. And very much the people there are just talking, and they're kind of middle class, upper middle class, and everyone's having dinner. And then it kind of immediately, you see people having the dinner, they're all more upscale. And then it cuts, and it goes to an empty chair, because the husband and wife at the ends of both tables are essentially smiling and toasting to each other. People are there for dinner, and they're co-workers, we find out. Then it cuts to a chair, and you see Donald Sutherland, who was there earlier for the dinner scene, but he was wearing a jacket and tie. Now he identifies him. He's a cop, but he has a shirt on that makes him look like a policeman. And then there's two people there. One is an investigator visiting, and the other is a guy from work who was at the dinner table. And so, co-worker, yeah. And so they basically say, your husband's missing, and he possibly was sending these filthy letters to a woman in New York. So the wife didn't believe it, but she's strong. You could tell she's like, I can handle this. Tell me what's going on. You find out that basically Donald Sutherland is picked to go since he's like, I'm his best
the
friend.
investigation goes on for a long time and they don't find anything and they're getting frustrated.
Yes. And so they hire his best friend, who is Donald Sutherland.
Right.
And Sutherland goes, and the only contact they have is a woman they investigated already or talked to pertaining to, because she was getting the letters, was Jane Fonda's role as Bree. And she was a high-end escort girl. And you see her world, which was basically going to casting calls and modeling shoots, modeling auditions. And that's basically how you kind of set up both worlds. And then
she's trying to be an actress, but when she doesn't make enough money, she's a call girl.
Right. I mean, she's a pretty
girl.
pricey call girl. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. $50, I guess, is a lot of money back
then. Right. In the time period. Yeah. But
so and dip in any time, but you get the point. That's the setup. He goes then to Donald Sutherland goes to New York to investigate. Basically, he's hired to go find out what happened to him and who did this. And then it kind of unveils, he stays at the bottom floor apartment of, his name is Klute, his last name. And he goes from Bree, who is the prostitute on the 4th floor, in kind of, I don't know where it is. It's like not Upper West Side. It seems like it's Chelsea.
Area. It's a dodgy area because she says at one point,
it's almost like it was old Chelsea or on the Lower East Side.
Because like she says at one point, like if, like I wouldn't be living in a dump like this if I were still just turning tricks all the time. I was making a shitload of money doing that.
She used to until the cops came pertaining to this case.
Right, exactly. And
she had a nice apartment on Park Avenue.
But since this case happened, she's had to stop doing this. However, you get more detail about her as a person and what she is actually wrestling with.
Right.
And her how she feels about what this is.
She's very good.
She won an Academy Award.
Yeah, this is my favorite Jane Fonda performance. In a way, like casting Jane Fonda in this movie is perfect casting, flawless casting. I think that she's a good actor, but this is making use of her Jane Fonda-ness as much as her skills.
Yes, and realize this is pretty much around the time when she was crawling on tanks in North Vietnam.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so she
was already controversial, besides being the daughter of a famous
Henry
actor.
Fonda, and who is the sort of like ideal of great Americana, earnest, truthful, old America stuff. And then she spends most of her life doing the exact political opposite of what her father represented.
Yeah, and whether to get him angry or not.
Complex relationship.
Complex, but then, on Golden Pond, kind of.
Yeah, they heal it up a bit.
Heal it up.
Yeah, another good movie.
But so he's investigating, and Clute starts to unravel, peel back where this is coming from and how this is happening.
Right.
But at the same time, he's starting to develop a relationship with Bree.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to peel back. I mean, Dan's right. It is a simpler story. And it is shot and tight. And there's some really crafty shots, man. It sounds so dorky.
So good.
Yeah, like when the guy's walking the street and then the yellow truck goes by and he's gone.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrific.
Good stuff.
This is and it's also Gordon Willis and his.
I was going to point out.
What?
The guy that was looking at his portfolio.
Yeah.
And then he
starts
gets
a shot like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's looking at her portfolio and he's like, well, I don't know. I think that's the guy from the Robin Williams, Terry Gilliam film, The Fisher King, who was the red-haired guy that dressed as a woman.
That may be true. Yeah.
I think that's the same.
Funny. Yeah. It's pretty good.
I think that's the same actor.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
think that
watched
movie,
them and
like,
I was like, because
I definitely recognize him for
studied in New York and theater design, so all my professors were
Sylvester
like that.
Stallone is in this movie.
Yes,
As an
briefly
extra?
for a
Yeah,
shot,
as an
basically.
extra.
Yeah,
One
He's
shot.
in the
Yeah, he
club
was an
shot,
extra in one of the club scenes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
When she goes back to Roy Scheider. Yeah, it's pretty
Roy
funny.
Scheider. So,
Yeah.
The Shides.
Because
So
that is
good.
he plays
So
a
good.
pimp, which is just so out of character for Roy Scheider.
Well, this is one of
but
my
it actually works for a high-end
It
pimp
does.
guy.
great. It's
The
great.
only thing I didn't buy for it was that he's got a smack habit.
This is pre-Jaws Roy Scheider, which is to say it's Roy Scheider. Like it's like Roy Scheider is Roy Scheider, whatever you put him in, right? But it's like post what do you call it, French Connection, and pre-Jaws, and so he's still in character actor land, right? And so this is a totally appropriate film for him to be in, but he's very close to his Jaws days. So when he shows up, you're just like, what the fuck is Brody doing here? This is really weird. It's such a strange surprise.
But he is who he is because he's so distinct. He was, and his voice and everything.
Roman
and he
nose,
does fill the room, man. He's like Bronson, but more elegant. But he fills the room with his character, and that was the thing about him. And I bought it as a high-end guy.
I think he's great.
But I just find the fact that they're like, oh, you have a smack habit is what Donald Sutherland said. It's like, no, that's not a guy. He doesn't look like a guy.
No, right. Yeah.
To run that high-end agency, you got to be on him. I'm telling you, got to deal with the bankroll. You have to deal with accountants.
Sure.
You have to make sure the girls show up at time.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying I know from practice, but I'm saying
not,
you really...
not any longer anyway.
Not any longer. Yeah. But yes, it's definitely... that was the only thing. But the club scene stuff was great, dude. All that stuff was so New York.
This club had the great wonder when she goes over to him.
It's my favorite gag.
God.
That's my favorite gag in the whole movie. That's it. That's just incredible. Actually, no, my second favorite gag. I'll save my favorite gag for later.
First of all, she is...
That's her best performance in the part of any part of the movie.
Her performance is amazing.
Yeah.
The other one I love is when she realizes she's falling in love with him at the fruit stand.
Yeah, which is a terrific scene.
Which is
an incredible scene.
No, it's basically Central Park where the little zoo is.
Yeah. And so like the thrust of the movie is like, I mean, it's very, very simple in terms of like, there is an evil killer. And Donald Sutherland is trying to find him, meets
and he has to go down the line to find all these people.
And so like he meets her and they sort of become partners in investigation. They sort of, Nancy Drew Hardy boys it up. And then they go and are trying to figure out, they're like step by step trying to figure out who the killer is. But the movie tells you who the killer is less
early.
More than less than 20 minutes in. Just goes, it's this guy. Anyway, and you're like,
one of the friends from the original opening scene to the left, there was a guy by the window who worked with him and his friends. That is the guy. He has a very distinctive chubby face. He has a very distinctive look. Right. And you see it's him.
Yep. And like they just outright tell you, which is what makes the movie fascinating, because Fonda and Sutherland, the plot that they're experiencing is a murder mystery plot. But because you know who the murderer is, there is no interest in it being a murder mystery, and there's not a lot of details to follow.
It's a love story.
Yes.
It is a
love story, but the thing about it, about it too, is the underlying thing that he likes to do, Pakula, or did, was that underlying, it's right there, you don't realize it, or you're completely oblivious to it. Like Warren Beatty was oblivious. He just was cocksure. I can get through anything. I'm so handsome and smart. And yet he was set up and he didn't see it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
For them, it's right there. It's the guy that hired Sutherland,
guy.
but you miss it because all these other layers of right and wrong, and life.
Right. And so like the movie really is an investigation of Jane Fonda's character. Like because he solves the crime for you by showing you who the killer is, you actually get to pay attention to what you're supposed to pay attention to, which is her. Like, it's essentially like you are, through the lens of Donald Sutherland, you are coming to understand this extremely complex character of Brie Daniel /S. And it is the most casting Fonda. And first of all, I just want to end my comment on Gordon Willis is like, this is the most experimental he is in any of his mainstream films.
In terms of the way he lights things?
In terms of the way he lights things, in terms of the way he shoots things.
So,
it's
like, you
wild.
can tell, like, how far is he going to go with this?
It's fucking crazy. Like,
you know,
and
when she's sitting at her house and smoking a joint and she's lighting candles, it's like, wait, she's turning off the light and turning on a candle. Like, he's got to be on purpose that he does this.
Yeah, and it's like it feels like the set is painted black,
but it seemed like it was all practical for that. Her apartment was a practical space.
Yeah, it's her apartment is actually on a stage.
It's a stage, but she lives. It was good, but she lived there on the stage, and they made an actual functional toilet for her to use while she's there, and she decorated it herself. So the part of the thing that she did. She spent a lot of time with call girls to try to sort of learn
it's a very Michael Mann experience that she had, really. Yeah. It's just like,
but she did that for another film that she did later on, I think, with her daughter.
Maybe so, yeah.
So she's part of the whole Lee Strasberg
method
thing. And then she met someone through Lee Strasberg's thing where, what was it?
Lee Strasberg, for anybody who's listening, is one of the great acting teachers of all time, but you most know him for being the villain in Godfather 2.
Right.
Yep.
But she apparently learned a lot of stuff from one of the other people who was part of Lee Strasberg, who apparently was also kind of like a call girl to JFK.
To JFK. Right. Yeah. And that's, I think I read the same thing. It had a signed photo from JFK in the apartment.
In the apartment, yes.
Yeah, that's really funny. And so it's all
you have the best ass.
Exactly. Signed J. This movie is
that is so, by the way, what's it called? The In-Laws, where he's like, sorry, at least we tried.
So good.
He's talking about
I don't think that's normal.
Wait a minute. You know what this movie reminded me of a little bit? The Day Trippers.
The Bay of Pigs?
Oh, the Day Trippers. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, oh, my husband's missing and cheating on me or something, and we're going to go into town to find out what's going on.
Right. Yeah. So the Day Trippers is to this as Fletch is to Parallax View.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is like the connection that I've always had with Stanley Kubrick and between Full Metal Jacket and Stripes. It's like that's the same fucking movie. It's exactly the same movie. But yeah, this movie, what's wonderful about this movie is that
and Spies Like Us and Falcon and the Snowman.
Yeah,
Spies
exactly.
Like Us.
But the
doctor.
Wow.
Doctor.
You are pulling.
This movie is so richly layered and detailed, and all of its little details in the sets and the photography and the performance and the character. And the movie is all about taking the time for the audience to realize these things and see all these little incredible details. Because there's not a mystery to solve. The mystery is solved for you. And there's not really a plot because they're not giving you any of the.
There's a journey to go through.
There's a journey, right? There's enough of there's enough of plot beats to hang their journey on, so you feel like it's progressing. But really, it's not even a love story in terms of watching them her and Sutherland fall in love. It's really Jane Fonda learning to trust in Donald Sutherland at all. It's like going from I don't trust anything and I put up a false face over everything.
Oh, and I love having control over everyone.
Yes, exactly. And I think that this is what makes it such a fascinating movie, and why Jane Fonda is so perfect for this is because Jane Fonda, though I think she's a great actor, has never ever exposed who Jane Fonda truly is. Ever. Not ever. Everything she ever says in every frame of film I've ever seen her in is all completely intellectual, completely posed,
she's
and
a
absolutely
really wealthy
frontal
girl.
Yes,
from a very important family,
famous actor. Yeah.
Yes, and so everything she says is hyper articulated. Very everything. Every single thing is crafted to sound maximally intelligent in the moment, so you can't misjudge her at all the time. About her emotions, about her political feelings, about everything, always. And I know people like this, and the one thing that they don't do is ever let you in at all. Like they'll tell you everything about themselves in the most minute detail ever, and they'll think that's being open. And meanwhile, they're just hiding themselves from you with more and more details and facts. And so this seems to be for Pakula. It was like, can we fucking crack Jane Fonda's brain open and see if there's a person inside? You know, and the movie comes extraordinarily close to making me believe there is.
It was interesting too, because apparently they had originally cast the psychiatrist as a man.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Okay.
And so she, two things that Fonda insisted. One is that it'd be a woman because she doesn't think she would open up about her sexuality that way to a man.
To some dude. Yeah. Right. Makes sense.
Then two, she wanted to film all the psychiatry things at the end after she had been this woman the longest, so she could think like talk to her more openly about it.
Yes.
And they improved all of the lines.
I'm sure.
So
yeah, I'm sure.
It's amazing. Like
she was, and honestly, she was out of focus, the psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's also true.
If you look at some of the shots, they're completely soft.
Like a little, yes. But like because it's so fucking dark, you can't tell. But the things with like I love the therapy shots and the therapy scenes and all this stuff, and especially like they do these long, languorous scenes where you see her interacting with Johns, like the old Russian guy or whatever it is, when she does the whole weird storytelling performance.
Oh, I thought it was beautiful.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And like she's perfect for this because she is false. This adds the layer of Brie Daniels-ness.
But it's about Jane Fonda.
It's about Jane Fonda. It's about Jane Fonda and acting. That's what this movie is all about.
It is. Just to give people a context, right? So we notice, we see her with a normal John and how she normally acts. So that's like, okay, this is the baseline.
She's just acting.
Yeah, and it has her just acting, right? And then we see her with this old guy who is apparently a regular, right? And he works at a garment district, or like and he works there, and he's probably 70 something years old, right? And she shows up there. He's at the factory, but he's the only one there, and he's serving some little bit of cognac or something. And she shows up looking very glamorous, right? And she says, I just got back from Cannes.
Yeah. Some interesting things happened to me there.
Interesting things happened there. So she's inventing this whole life for him.
Yeah.
And he's buying it. Like, tell me what happened at Cannes. Oh, there's this very man. There's a man. He looked a lot like you. He was very strange. And I knew immediately how much. And it goes into this whole story while she's slowly undressing in front of him. It's
the longest striptease of all time. Right. And it's totally dark, so you can't see anything.
You can't see anything, right? But Donald Sutherland witnesses this or figures it out, right? And he says, you were at this guy's house. He says, oh my God, leave him alone. He's 70 years old.
Right.
His wife died. He's never taken a vacation in his life. All he has is me, and he doesn't even touch me.
Yes.
And that's the sort of the thing, right? She's an idol that everyone's looking up to, but also
the line. Oh yes, like the line she says that's the most true in the entire movie for her and for everybody. Like this movie means. I think this movie is made not for the 70s. It's made for right this fucking second. Because this movie, I couldn't stop thinking about the problem of people's personalities on social media. Like this is a weird version of Blonde, this movie. And you know what I'm saying? And so like that it's this performance, like you're seeing like layer after layer and layer after layer of performance in this thing. And trying to uncover that performance leads to another performance. Right? Like when she sleeps with Sutherland, like she comes down and she's like, she's like, I just don't want to be alone. I just don't want to be alone. And, and then kind of
it's a conquest because she leaves right after
conquest, right? And then she does it just to, she fucks him and then goes like, see, I can get to you too. So fuck you. Like it's to push him away because she really cares about him. So she's like, I'm going to fuck him and get him out of my life. Right.
But it's also power.
It's power. That's how she thinks that she can be safe. Right. And the line that she says that is true for everyone in the movie, as I believe it is true for everybody who puts on fake bullshit on social media, is like she says to her therapist, and it's just in the line is laid over on top of other visuals, so you don't see her at all when she says it. She says, "I just want to be faceless and bodiless, and for to be left alone." And I was just like, "That's the fucking movie. That is who she is." And the way she does this,
Facebook.
It's just like all of this
Instagram.
stuff, all of this shit, all of this performance, all this decoration, all this makeup, all this bullshit, all these stories is to hide. Everything is to hide.
I just want to send a telegram, but fast, instantly.
Just once. I'd like to have a hot dog that's not cold. Yeah, like this. Like that's what she is. She's like the real person only wants to not experience anything she's experiencing in the slightest.
Well, she's perfect for it because she's distant and rich and
right,
super smart.
And when we first picked this movie, I was like, "There's a line in here you're never going to forget for the rest of your life, Chris." And it's when she's gone, "Oh, Angel," and checks her fucking watch.
Yeah,
it's like, that's it. You don't need anything else. That's the whole show. Yeah. Clute. The end. Yeah. John's banging away, and then she's like, "Oh, Angel, my angel." 4:00. Okay. Let's see if I can get this done. Yeah. Like, it's extraordinary. And so like the one time you see her as herself really is in, okay, so there's a lot of my favorites in this line. So I'll try to restrict it to just the movie. My favorite shot in the movie, my favorite performance in the movie, and one of the scariest fucking sequences I've ever seen in my life.
The music is really good too.
When she is listening to the audio tape of the woman who is murdered, it's one of the most daring, terrifying fucking scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's only on her in this shot that's so goddamn dark. You're like, can I see her face at all?
No,
it's
you do.
Barely there. Barely there. Barely there.
What you do see her crying,
and you see the tears. She's almost totally still, and the tears are beating up on her eyeballs and falling off. Snot's coming out of her nose.
Snot's coming out of her nose, which is genuine because like you don't cry to the point where snot.
They have little exploding bags for your nose.
Yeah, a little exactly. Yeah. It's a squib up your nose.
And it's like there was your nose they repack it wrong. Nose goes
because like this. The whole thing is the murderer records everything, which is awesome because they give it away in the opening shot because the murderer's fucking record. It's the opening shot is of the murderer's recorder, which is on the table at the dinner in the opening scene. Like there it is. But the murderer records all his dialogues with all the women that he abuses, right? And you've only heard her. Like you've heard her recordings the whole time. And then he plays for her the recording of when he killed this woman and the dialogue that happens prior to the murder. And everything the woman is saying and the entire dialogue they have, everything the woman is saying sounds exactly like Jane Fonda answering the same questions in the same terrified, defensive, maybe I can sneak out of this way, right? And then it suddenly just turns to her screaming. It's one of the most bone-chilling things that I've ever seen in a movie.
I know. Like, you know what it reminded me of?
What's that? Fletch.
No. Grizzly Man.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's like if you heard the recording in Grizzly Man, this is what it is.
Yeah.
By the way, what's your name from not Carol O'Connor, but
the wife Stapleton. There.
Gene Stapleton. Gene Stapleton.
Oh, yeah. Gene Stapleton was so good in this. She was perfect. She was
Another great imitation. You are on tonight.
Home runs all day. Nothing but bangers. Dan's Ron.
Nothing but bangers.
That's right. He does impressions of characters you can't even remember the actors' names. Oh, the woman from so-and-so on that show. That one, yes, absolutely. Gene Stapleton. Thank you, Eric.
I'm on step on my door.
That's fantastic. Yep. But yeah, this movie is it's continuously not what you expect, and the editorial is so bizarre, and it gives so much room to the characters exploring who they are. It's
the
outrageous.
music is fantastic. Now, it was also risky. It's John Littleton or something. What was his name? Snow. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But he brings on, it's like, okay, this is the creepy part. It's just a normal shot, but you add the music on top. It's like,
and you're like,
oh, don't feel comfortable. I need
Something
an adult.
Is bad. Something is bad.
Something's bad.
Something is bad.
and then, but also the club and bar scenes are just
talk about that club shot.
That club shot was great. The
That
outfits
is
were
fucking
amazing.
outstanding.
There's two
And
of
those,
them.
and the
There's
preppy guy
two big club shots. One where they just keep panning across people,
which is great.
which is really good. This is when they first go to the club to try to find one of the girls.
Yes, right.
They're pretty, just to give it, she is one of the girls, but she did have an involvement with this guy, but she doesn't remember him at all.
Right.
That's the big thing, right? And so the cops sort of left her at that, and they just didn't know. It's like, but she says, "Well, where did you meet the guy? How did you get in touch with him?" I got in touch with him through my pimp. We figured out a pimp, right? Well, her boyfriend, but turns out it's her pimp, right? And it's Roy Scheider. And then, but then he said, he tells Klute, I didn't get the name from the guy. I got it from this other girl who hated her, and she
hated him.
So she said he likes to beat up people, so I gave it to her so that he could beat her up because she wanted vengeance on her. Right. And it's like, oh.
But it shows how naive she is because she didn't realize it.
She didn't realize it, right? And then we found out who that girl is. No, that girl is died. She committed suicide. But then there was another girl as well, and she's a junkie, right? And so they're trying to find the junkie. Where did the junkie go? Because junkies are hard to find because they're all over the place. And so they go to the club to meet this girl.
Junkie club in
It's
Queens.
called Junkies.
But
Welcome
they're
to
people just
JC
sitting,
Junkie
dancing.
Club.
The music is just
Drinks are
very.
free
This is
if you don't
71,
drink.
right? 71 came out, right?
Yeah, 71. Yep.
So they shot in 70.
So it's very sort of right between rock and roll and disco kind of starting, like it had this bell bottom feel to it.
Yeah,
that was
it's
just,
pretty great. Yeah, it's pretty
and the
great.
lighting was cool, and it just, I don't even remember if it was slow-mo, but it looks like it was slow-mo.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it's not. I don't think it is slow-mo, but it feels slow-mo,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it just had this awesome lighting to it. And you're just panning across, meeting these, as you're doing it, you're sort of being introduced to different pairs of people, to women, to men, people hanging out.
The
doing different
layering of good people with good slacks.
Oh man, so many slacks.
So that was
Earth
one of the
Tones
slacks. And
were
that's the
in.
second best one because there's another one that is unbelievable.
Yeah, like the other one is Jane Fonda gets out of the car, like it's just fucking gets out of the moving car with Donald Sutherland.
Yeah,
goes
she's
to,
angry
like,
at him.
Like she's like, fuck this. And because like her big struggle essentially is like once she starts to trust anyone, she pushes them away immediately and goes back to the falseness of her own life so she can hide.
Right. So basically she's saying, I am not going to try to keep succeeding because I'll end up ending with this guy. So the only way I know how to get away from this guy is to go back to Roy Scheider.
You go back to Roy Scheider
and do drugs.
And yeah, exactly. And when she enters Roy Scheider's club, and you're tracking back with her through the club.
Scheider Dome.
The Scheider Dome. Welcome to the Scheider Dome.
I got the power.
One man, two men enter, one man leaves. But you track back with her, dolly back with her as she is going through the club, and she is obviously like broken and sad and scared and depressed and hating herself.
You can see all these emotions on her face throughout the whole one-er shot.
And she is trying to keep on putting on this happy, like, let's fuck face.
Right.
And like,
She
she's
goes
like,
after the preppy guy. Can you believe that? The guy with the best.
Like
No, she
the
walks
war
it-
in her facial features is a movie in itself.
It's so good. So she comes in and she looks at this guy and she's like, hey, smiles at him. And he's like, hey. And then she looks away like, ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, just sorry. Back to smiling at you. Hey.
Yeah, back to smiling. Here, yes, let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. And she's got all this, like, she's big bags under her eyes. And she's,
it is fucking
and then
heartbreaking.
she walks up, she sees 4 guys sitting at a table and she's like, hey. And then she's like, sits down and she just slowly just sits in one guy's lap. And the guy's like, hey. And then she just starts making out with him hard. The other guys are like going, yeah.
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 That's my Tommy. That's my Tommy. Look at that.
And so and then she gets up and he's like, let's go dancing. And then she immediately ditches him to go meet this other girl.
Yep.
And it's like the guy's like, oh, screw this. And this is all in one take. It's amazing.
And you can see her face just changing from like
emotion to
just like she's like either fake version of her smiling or actual version of her wanting basically to kill herself.
Right.
Back and forth until it lands on her and Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider. And then Roy Scheider's there looking like Al Pacino and Scarface.
Al Pacino and Scarface. Exactly.
This is how this is him behind me like that.
No, Pacino in
but look, he's even got a scar on his face.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you think that when they looked at Scarface, they thought maybe we'll make him be like Roy Scheider?
Man, it's the same. I'm sure they're like that whole scene.
Look at this behind me. I mean, he's even got the scar. Right?
Yeah, that looks like Giorgio Moroder is playing on top of it. That's like that is 100% Scarface for sure. I think
he's
you're
got
right.
a scar on his face.
Yeah, he's got a scar on his face. De Palma saw this and is like, I can make this movie. We can do this. Yeah. Oh man, but it's phenomenal. And the performance is great. The shot is great. Like, and this movie is just jam packed with this shit all over the place.
Who is the girl in Scarface? It's
Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah,
right. So it's like Pfeiffer,
stunningly beautiful Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, so she goes and sits next to him, and he's like, almost pushes her away, like, "Don't you fucking betray me, bitch!" Yeah. And then at the same time, then he kind of lets her be there because he sees Donald Sutherland, who's looking at her. He's looking at Donald Sutherland, essentially saying, "She's mine."
Yeah, right.
Fuck
exactly. You. Yeah. and so like I would say like there's when you're watching this film, the one I would say the one flaw you might think is happening is you're not getting very much detail about Donald Sutherland as a character.
Well,
right?
yes, his background.
Right? You get to know almost nothing about him.
He could be married for all we know.
That's
exactly.
the thing. Yeah.
And this is the greatness of the movie is because it actually sort of literally holds its punch until very close to the end, because like he he's being honest and emoting all the time without saying anything. Like he's actually very straightforward all the time about how he feels about everything.
Sensible.
Right. And so he's the opposite of Fonda. It's like what you see is what you get with this guy. And
he only says what he only says what he needs to.
Yeah, like this is like he's dealing with what's immediately in front of him. And this is it. Like, this is what he's doing.
But he doesn't show emotion that it's also his best friend, because he was that guy's best friend.
Yes, exactly.
Tom.
And
so he doesn't show any emotion about that.
He's kind of a cipher for most of the movie.
And then you don't realize he's married or not, because he pushes her off in the beginning, Bree, thinking that, oh, I'm married. I don't want to do this. This is work, pleasure. This is work, and it's my best friend. You don't get any of that. Right.
Like, there's two moments where you see his character revealed. One is when he agrees to sleep with her, like when she rolls over and off the one bed and onto his bed, and he goes for it, and you see like after she's like, see, I fucked you for fun, blah blah blah, and leaves, and you see how he feels about that, but immediately he gets back to business. He's like, I'm not gonna let that ruin my life. It sucks, but I'm not gonna let it ruin my life. But then in the end, when she's like, I can't go back to my place, I can't stay there, so I'm just going to stay at Roy Scheider's girlfriend's place, and it's just going to be fine. And he's like, please don't do that, right? Please don't do this. Right. And Roy Scheider gives this little speech, which is like, hey, no, she respects you, I respect you, and you got to respect her. And Sutherland plows his fucking face in out of the blue. And you just go, whoa, that's who that is. Like, he reveals all of his cards at once. He's like, I actually fucking love you, you dickhead. Like, this is how I feel about you. Yep. Right. And all of the violence that has been violent men have been the background story of this movie the entire time. And then suddenly the one bit of violence that you actually see perpetrated in the film by a man is Sutherland, because of how he actually feels about Jane Fonda. Like, everything else is implied. There's no murders in the movie. Like, there's a recording of a murder, but even the killer doesn't do and
any graphic stuff.
There's a dead body that they find.
There's a dead body.
But pictures, and it's all the rest is
pictures,
just pictures.
The rest is all those pictures of all those women.
Yeah, there's
right.
violence towards women looms incredibly large in this movie.
But
you see how he uses for those moments, it's like a blow up. He uses the images
to push it.
Yeah,
and you know who steals this very, very well is David Fincher in Seven. There is only one scene of violence in Seven, and that's from Brad Pitt at the end. Like, you don't see any of the rest of it happen at all. Everything else is in your brain, and I know that Fincher loves Klute. He loves Pakula in general. But that's where he gets this from. It's just like the movie's going to happen in people's minds. It's not going to fucking, like, you're not helping by showing this stuff. Know why you're showing things.
This also, did you guys ever watch Tightrope?
Yeah. I love Tightrope. Tightrope was great.
With Clint
Eastwood. Yeah.
This has a lot of Clint Eastwood Tightrope in it as well. I mean, it's not the same movie, obviously. This is a much better film, but still, there was like a little bit of that, dealing with prostitutes and a cop, and
this
strangeness and the falling in love with people,
right? Like this intense sort of sexual pressure is happening through the entire film, and it's all being constantly intellectualized. Like it's either intellectualized as crime or it's intellectualized literally by her talking about it.
Sex too was like it wasn't. The sex was more implied because you only saw just tight shots, and then when they talk about when she talks about sex with one of the Johns, he whispers in her ear what he wants to do to her. He doesn't tell her.
He doesn't say it. Exactly. Same thing. Exactly right. Exactly.
And that's like Don't Show the Monster, right? Because
exactly.
Because it's a little bit like, I don't know what the hell he just said, but it sounded
it's way crazy. It's pretty crazy, right? Yeah.
And it was tight in that place because that's the other thing is don't show the motel room. You always have to go tight.
Right. Yeah. No, it's like the thing is, like, people misinterpret the don't show the monster thing all the time because they're like, so it's bad to show the monster is what people learn from that, which is not true. Because, like, if you watch The Thing, it's good to show the monster. Like,
sure.
But it's know what the monster is and what you are showing. Like the reason why the actual monster of The Thing isn't the gross creature. It's the fact that you can't fucking trust anybody.
Right.
Like, that's the actual monster.
You don't know where it is, but that's the success of Alien.
But that's Alien. Like, it's like know what the monster is what that really says. And in this, like, there's this constant talking about sex, photographs and murders, and
it's whispered and implied.
It's just like the tension is extraordinarily high for the audience, even during the slowest scenes, because of all this unspoken, or actually unfelt material. Like, a lot of it's spoken, but nothing is felt. And so when things are actually felt, it's really profound. When he flips out and decks Roy Scheider, I was like, whoa, yeah, definitely. Like, that guy needs a sock in the fucking jaw. And you really feel the urgency of that. Or like when she later has sex with Sutherland, and it's the exact same shot as the check the watch shot. Mm-hmm. Only she
doesn't check a watch.
She is fucking totally into it, right? She's like, this is,
and again, she also explains to her therapist that she doesn't understand how that can be. She goes, I guess you can understand,
right?
But I can't
because
I always use sex to have power over men,
right?
And now it's a mutual thing that I don't understand.
The unbelievable emotional freedom of trusting someone is something that I don't think that many people in real life feel at all. And that's what this is about.
Look. Yeah, or I don't believe you. I don't trust you on that one. But yes, go on.
I don't trust you on this, Dan.
But there is something else. There was the one where where she is basically with him, and she's starting to realize that she's falling in love with him, and they're buying fruit, right?
Yeah.
Like she steals an apple and puts it in her bag.
Yeah.
And he witnesses it, and he says, "What's in your bag?" They don't really go through it, but she sort of has this thing where she basically looks at him like, and says, well, and she just has a smile on her face of like, I don't understand these emotions. And she holds on to his jacket, and she's just uncomfortably happy.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's a scene about trust. Like he makes it into, it's not just, isn't it fun that they're having fun together? He makes it into a scene about trust again.
Right.
And like, this is the thing, it's just like, that's why I mean, it's like, this is a very, this is equally important now as a movie, if not more so, because I think that everyone suffers from exactly Brie Daniels' problem.
Well, the thing that was interesting is when she won the Oscars and she said talk backstage, one of the things that she said was like, I think my only problem with the movie is that it seems to imply that all you need to have to be okay is a good man and a good therapist.
Yeah. I heard that too. Right.
That's not, and she's right. Is like, I think there's a lot of like desperate, little pretty woman, like prostitute needs to be saved by someone.
Right? But the thing is because I read that same thing, and I was just like, that sounds exactly like something that Brie Daniel would say. Like, that's a very sharp, seemingly true observation that isn't true about this movie.
Yeah, but they basically wrote the role for her.
Yeah, like that is like contextually, like if you alter what the movie means, then yes, that's true. You could then plenty of other movies that are set up identically to this. She's exactly right. And she's using that as a defense mechanism to throw away the power of the movie. Like, I mean, like the movie is not about just like, well, what you need is a good man. Like like Donald Sutherland is not represented as just like, well, it's good that I'm a man in your life. Like, she's the powerful fucking active character the entire goddamn time. Like, he's just sort of moping around, right? Like, it's just that she can't trust anybody, and then she trusts him, which is what you want to do in your life. And
apparently they started dating in real life after this.
I mean, like, it's like
she and Sutherland.
Yeah. I mean, like
they were each other's dates for the Oscars.
Yeah, like this, like she's terrific in this movie, but it's wild to me that I either what this movie was really doing, with her, meaning interactively with her, what Pakula was really doing was terrifying to her, and she wanted to disassociate herself, or she read, she's like, well, the public perception of this is this, and it seems to be against who I am, so I will just change that and say something else. Like, if she actually felt that way, she wouldn't have fucking made the movie. Like, the movie must have meant something else to her, otherwise she wouldn't have improv'd all the fucking shit with the therapist.
Right.
So like, I think that's the thing. I think that is, I don't think that any of that stuff has to do with men or women or anything. I think that has to do with actually just trusting people.
It has to be discussed, right? Because there is a problem with
with other movies, yes.
Prostitute woman gets saved by man, moves to the country happily ever after.
Yeah, like, well, there's a problem with most Save the Princess movies, but we're talking about Star Wars, so like, I don't know why we have to, like, when it's obviously not true in Star Wars, I don't think we have to apply the criticism to it when it's the opposite.
I did see a really hilarious video, speaking of Star Wars, with Carrie Fisher, which does apply to this movie. Apparently she was, dressing up for Princess Leia and doing all of her thing. And George Lucas came up to her and was like, nope, You can't wear a bra. There is no underwear in space.
Yeah, there's no sexuality in
There's
this
no
movie.
underwear in space.
This is
And
not
so
a sexual film.
and then while they're saying this video, they're just showing videos of Carrie Fisher walking around clearly without a bra.
Right.
Through most of Star Wars. And then I was looking at this movie, it's like, this movie also must have been a space movie because there was no bras in this film.
Well, like, she's like, her boobs are actually very heavily typed down through most of that movie. Like she's like bound like the mummy through most of that film. Right. But like this is the thing. It's just like, you know, Star Wars, I think it's right to compliment Star Wars for having an inversion of the Save the Princess mythology. Because the moment that she is
saved.
Like,
she's
short
like for a stormtrooper.
Yeah, like she instantly takes control of the movie. She's like, yeah, well, I'm a fucking, you know, I'm an actual political figure who runs wars. So thank you. But now get the fuck out of my way. You know, like that's like, and so like when people are like, well, it's a Save the Princess movie, I'm just like, yeah, okay. If you reduce it down to a fucking, you know, a fortune cookie line about what the plot is. Right. And that's what I feel like essentially Fonda did with her own fucking work, which is bizarre. Like that shows the turmoil that you see on screen in Clute is real for Jane Fonda. Like she is obviously wrestling with, I need to manage my public perception constantly instead of
I think it would have been
being straightforward
if they did a little bit more of a Midnight Cowboy ending to this film.
Sure, exactly, right.
You know, I mean, like it could have been interesting if they'd done that as well. So,
well, I think that I think this movie is
or Parallax View. Someone just shows up and blows her away.
Yeah, but I mean, like I think that because she also does another couple of movies with at least one more with Pakula. Like she does Comes a Horseman, which I love.
That's right.
Right, and that's another one where she's like. That's a very improv based movie, and she does fucking wonderful work in that movie, you know, and that's a love story, you know, and it's a very real feeling love story. So she has the chops, but I think that she spent most of her life being very, very afraid of maintaining her image to the point where, you know, she doesn't feel safe, you know, being herself in public. And that's essentially the truth of this movie. And like I said, I think it's the truth for fucking everybody right now, all the time. And so like seeing a movie like Clute, I mean, like sure, remake Clute and have it, you know, like have the Brie Daniel character be a guy, and it would be the same statement. You're not making some like statement about how anyone's dependent on anyone else. It's about how we trap ourselves. And I think that, you know, like if you're going to spend the time making that movie, then you should support that movie. And I thought it was sort of bizarre that she thought something else was going on because she's saying the opposite thing through her actual performance.
This has to be one of her best performances.
Yeah, I mean, like my favorites from her. This probably my favorite. Comes a Horseman. They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Where she's terrifically cast because she's so fucking angry all the time in that movie. And I think that's who she actually is.
Yeah.
I think she is ragingly angry internally through her entire life. And that's the one movie that really gives her permission to do that. And I bet when she's fucking running around the fucking dance hall with dead red buttons on her back, like she's thinking about her dad. Like I think that's what's happening in that movie.
Yeah. You know, strange but true.
You know.
She went to the same high school as my sister.
No shit.
Yeah, but 10 years prior. But yeah, she lived in Connecticut, where I grew up.
My dad,
Greenwich.
My dad knew her too.
Yeah, and but her mother, I think, went to the insane asylum, and I think her mother took her life, and so she had this kind of. Curious what her mother was like, but that's and that history is what made Peter Fonda cry in Easy Rider.
Yep.
So you remember how he's in the graveyard?
Yeah.
And he starts crying.
He's really feeling it. Yeah.
Well, you know why? It's because they wanted him to cry, and so Dennis Hopper said to him, "Hey man, I need you crying, man." And he's just like, I'm trying. He's like, "Hey man, all right, so start thinking about why your mom cop out the way she did, man. She just gave up easy." And he started crying.
Yeah. And he was so angry at him for doing that to him.
That's right.
That's
so
fucking,
Dennis Hopper.
That's
Why should cop out, man?
Yeah, dude. Jesus Christ. Yeah, like
I'm going to use your suicidal mom to inspire you.
Yeah, I would not call that myself good directing.
I don't think Dennis Hopper was necessarily a good director. I like Easy Rider,
it's very effective.
Yes.
But I have this feeling they were probably on the drugs as well.
Oh, without a doubt. They're tripping balls in that sequence, for sure.
Yeah, it's
but
like Charlie Sheen and Apocalypse Now. Martin Sheen and Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, shit, man. Hammered out of his fucking mind.
Punching
mirrors. I don't know if that's super ethical, Francis, but good scene. But yeah, I think that because you look at Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda is like one of my favorite actors, and he's sort of like messed up in the same way Jane is, only in reverse. He's not really the good man that he is portraying constantly on screen. He's a much more complicated person. Well, but he felt compelled to give this very, very, very wholesome, outside of Once Upon a Time in the West. Who? Henry Fonda.
Henry Fonda.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of similarities, believe it or not, between, Henry Fonda and Jane Fonda as there is between Edgar Bergen and Candice Bergen.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Because Edgar Bergen was like hardcore Republican, pro-war guy, right? And radio shows. What's it called when they go on the overseas?
They go on a gosh darn it.
We're all blanking on this.
Bob Hope and the ESCO, OSO, something OSO?
No,
or
someone in chat.
USO.
Yes, I got it.
We were just talking about Apocalypse Now. They have a USO show.
They have a USO show. That's right.
Yep.
Oh my God, crazy town.
Yep. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's a fascinating, really, fucking Henry Fonda's Clute is Once Upon a Time in the West.
Well, that's the one movie she hates. Dude, that's the one movie Jane Fonda hates because her father was evil, and she hates that movie.
It's a fucking incredible bastard in that movie, and
Grapes of Wrath is pretty good though.
He's amazing. I love Fonda. 12 Angry Men. It's fucking incredible. Yeah. But for him to play a more complex character like he was in real life, I'm sure it was very upsetting for, Jane and etc. to see on the movie screen, because that's where their dad traditionally played this upright, good all-American guy who I don't think he necessarily was all the time.
No.
And that messed, Jane and Peter up enough that they became famous in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, I love this movie, but the thing that stood out to me still, her performance was really good, everything. But the thing, to me, is just Gordon Willis, man.
No, he's the superstar.
You just look at this, this and they don't, I hate to say it, they don't make them like they used to, right?
No one fucking shoots. Netflix would throw all that shit out.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it.
What I've been watching recently, and it's really not, it's so, I don't know why I'm watching it. It's very average. It's Our Flag Means Death. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cute.
I was telling you about that for the live action stuff, because the ocean scenes.
It's all virtual production. Yeah,
that's right. I was telling you about that to look at that. Or
I did. I am looking. That's why I'm looking.
But I'm saying I didn't like the ocean shots. Remember
I don't either.
You don't either.
No.
Remember, because I was like, God, is it me or did the ocean stinks?
And the lighting's not quite there. But if you look,
the lighting's not quite there. But there's something about perspective. Something is off. Maybe it's too high off the water.
I don't know. Yeah, because all these shots are like this, and then you see ocean even higher. So it doesn't make any sense.
It's a weird thing. Yeah,
it is a weird thing. But also, I just like the lighting on it is just everything is just
flat and soft,
right?
Yeah,
and Gordon Willis
That's
is
what
like
it is. Yeah,
it's the literal opposite of Gordon Willis.
Gordon Willis is completely high contrast,
Yeah, but how would you do that? And how would he do it today with virtual production?
First of all, Here's the other thing, right? There is now, because of the way cameras work, where you can actually get huge amounts of stops of data, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing where people want to put like tone mapping on everything.
Yeah.
That allows you to
I argue about this
see
all
everything,
the goddamn time. Like,
right?
They,
like,
here's
You
I
mean like
think that-
HDR?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
tone mapping.
you want a very usable curve.
That's right.
Is what they say, right? And the thing is, like, you can still like now. There are plenty of great photographers and great directors that do use this technique and then later really control the shots to be a great shot. However, most people use this to shoot like shit.
Yes.
Like-
Well, there's a shot where she's being confronted by the guy and he's lecturing her about
Right.
how he killed the guy, right?
Yes, right.
And he's a silhouette.
Like
And
cardboard cutout silhouette.
Not only that, but his back
Mhm.
pretty much covers, it's all black,
Mhm.
covers 3/4 of the screen.
Yeah, like
so
there's
3/4
nothing
of the screen
to
is
see.
black, and
Yeah.
then you see her like to the edge of the screen, and she's just reacting to him.
Right.
And she's
Which
only
is
like
terrifying to
20.
see.
nervous.
It's
Yeah.
only
Yes.
20% of the screen. Is
Yes, it's
her.
and it's beautiful
Everything else
because
is
she
black.
is pressed into a corner by this guy.
Yeah, because you can sense her being trapped, right?
Yeah.
And then
like
you
the-
forget that it's his back that you're working. You're just sort
Yeah.
of realizing it's all black. And then Parallax moves to the left, and then you
Yep.
realize, oh, it's him. I forgot it
Yes.
was him the whole time.
The,
So
the
good.
thing, like, and Netflix would get. I mean, like Netflix has put up a lot of actually quite beautiful movies. Like whenever they work
have.
with big directors,
Roma.
I mean, like Roma, et cetera, et cetera. And,
Blonde.
for those who haven't seen The Killer, incredible. Blonde,
I'm gonna watch
absolutely.
that tonight.
Oh my god, I've seen it 3 times. It's a masterpiece. I don't know if people are going to like that movie. You'll see why I like it. But in any case, that they know what good photography is. But for everyone below that particular line, they are very strict about their Netflix look, right? And their Netflix look is.
Are you kidding me? Are they dictating how it looks?
Of course, yeah. They have a very strict regimen, as far as I understand, for like what people are allowed to shoot. And it's extremely like if you're not a great photographer and you're trying to work within those boundaries, you're going to be an even worse photographer. Like it is overlit,
it's funny
hyper
because
crisp, ugly
I
stuff.
spoke to, on my podcast, I had someone named Amy Aniobi. She's a writer. She writes for Insecure, and she also directs for Insecure. Really good show if you haven't seen Insecure. Have you seen Insecure, Daniel?
I've seen, it's on HBO, that one, yeah?
Yes.
Or on Max, yeah. Yeah. I've seen
really
one episode and it's very good.
Very good. But she was basically saying, it's like, yeah, Netflix kind of is like the Starbucks. It's not good, but you know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And they
That
want
seems
safe to say.
uniformity for their distribution. I understand where they're coming from. It makes sense.
Right. It's Starbucks.
But it is the like it maximizes the worst of mediocre photographers' work. And like you end up with these very shabby, very soft.
It's doing so well too right now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have nothing against Netflix. They do make a lot of great stuff.
Did you guys see the
But this
report?
that mode of photography is atrocious.
So since the beginning of the year, Max has lost like 2 million viewers.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it's because of the strikes and all this stuff. Everyone else gained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Netflix actually gained 6
Oh
million
yeah,
viewers.
there's an article.
Yeah.
I don't know if I sent this
Yeah.
to you guys. I was just reading that. It was like it really grew.
7.
Yeah.
And do you know the number one reason why they grew?
What's that?
Ads.
Cracking down on passwords.
That makes sense.
But they have, and more people are signing up for the ad-based one, which is cheaper, but you watch ads.
Yep. Well, I watch Tubi, which has ads all the time. That's free, and they have a deeper selection of movies than literally anybody on the face of the earth.
Tubi and Pluto are two other ones. You can
I have
do.
Tubi. I don't have
miraculous.
Pluto.
Well,
Yeah.
Pluto's free. You can just go to it,
Yeah.
and it's like
And
having
technically,
regular TV.
Roku TV also has some.
Yeah.
But Tubi is doing original content. And it's
They are definitely in stage one of. It's like when USA Networks sort of started like making stuff, and you're like, oh god,
USA Up All Night.
Up
with
All Night,
Will
exactly.
Gilbert Gottfried as your host.
But yeah, let's quickly do a little Gordon Willis appreciation just by listing, just so if people don't know.
Don't realize what he's done. Okay,
Yeah,
so he
okay,
did the
so-
three. He did the 3 paranoia films. Of
Okay, so-
Pakula. So he did All
Clute,
the President's Men,
All the
Clute,
President's Men,
Parallax
Allen.
View.
Yep.
He did
But he
Annie
also
Hall.
did The Godfather, Godfather 2, Annie Hall, right? And here's where you're going to love it. Okay, first of all, interior is fantastic. Manhattan,
Yes.
Stardust Memories, and of course, Broadway Danny Rose,
Yes.
which you and I absolutely love.
Lou
Absolutely
tells
love.
me you're an interior decorator.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my
I don't
God.
want to talk about Lou.
Zelig.
I'm going to
which
give
is
you a piece of
incredible.
information. A piece of information that's very good. This is a little piece of trivia.
Shandor, the magician.
Little piece of trivia about Gordon Willis. Are you ready?
Hit it.
And this is. I'm just going to read it directly from IMDb. In a spectacular 7-year period from 1971 to 1977, 7 of the films he worked on as director of photography accumulated 39 Oscar nominations and 19 wins. Among these are the best pictures of Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Annie Hall, and 6 for acting with Jane Fonda, Marlon Brando, John Houseman, Robert De Niro, Jason Robart, and Diane Keaton. Incredibly, Willis failed to secure a single nomination for himself during that period.
Insane.
When did he pass away?
Insane.
When did he pass?
He passed actually
2011?
wasn't that he was married from 1955 to when he died, which is I think 2018,
Okay.
2014.
That was close.
He was at 82, so he looked long enough.
He had it coming.
Pakula had a gruesome death, though.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
that's
God,
right.
so
in the
sad.
Hamptons.
So sad. Behind a
Plumbing
truck.
truck.
Yeah,
Plumbing truck.
Yeah. Oh, fucking
A pipe
stinks.
came off the plumbing truck, bounced up, and impaled
Went
him.
through the windshield through his chest.
Unbelievable, man. That's like a fucking Final Destination death. He did not
Yeah.
deserve that. That's dumb.
It literally went through, I think, his heart or right by his
Yeah.
heart.
Just imagine if he was jumping a car in Parallax View and it's
Dude, I swear.
That's such a strange death, too.
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, like the thing is that you look at the DPs of the 70s, you know, like everyone from fucking Zygmunt to Gordon Willis to Haskell Wexler to Alan Davio to fucking all like just you can list like of the greats of all time. Like who can you think of today? Deakins.
Yes.
That's it.
There's others. There's like Emmanuel Lubitsky. There's a couple other great ones.
I think Claudio Miranda is pretty good.
Yep. And Claudio Miranda's good. Who was who
Mary
shot?
Sure.
Who shot Zodiac? That was
Zodiac?
yeah. Zodiac was. I think he's since passed that guy, but he's very good.
I thought wasn't it Claudio who did that?
Was that Claudio? I thought there was
Hold on.
Fuck, what's his name? But and then you have people like Vittorio Storaro who are still working. That guy must be like
That's
90 something
crazy.
years old.
Is he still working?
He's still cooking. Yeah.
No, cinematography was Harris Savitas.
Harris Servatis, yeah, who's extremely good. I think he may have died. The other
Oh my
great
God,
guy
I didn't realize that Angus Wall was the editor of Zodiac. He's really good.
I don't know Angus Wall.
Angus Wall, yeah.
I should know for Zodiac. Zodiac. I love.
Angus, he started Rock Paper Scissors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I worked for that
Right.
guy. Yes,
Yeah.
that was A5. No,
A52 is their CG,
yeah.
was their VFX branch.
That's who I worked for.
Yeah. Angus
But like I would say the most notable person outside of those is like Hoyt van Hoytema, who's extremely good. He shoots for he's Nolan's new guy. And let's see, he also shot Let the Right One In.
Let the Right One.
That's a
Beautiful
great
movie. Yeah. So he's very good. But like these guys are like they're all something like except for Deakins and Lubinsky, I would say like nobody has the full career of a Gordon Willis or a.
I was going to say it was
In
like
such a short period of time.
Whoever shot Roma is amazing, and it's
yeah.
that was
that
Alfonso
guy.
Cuarón.
Yeah.
No, he shot his own movie.
It was. Oh
Yes,
shit!
he was a cinematographer.
He should stick with it. He should stick with that guy.
Yeah. So
guy's pretty
Cuarón wrote, directed, edited, and shot.
Yeah, Roma's spectacular. What a fucking movie, man. That's such a that I remember when we were first talking about Roma, I stick by it. That is the first real VR experience I've had just from watching a movie. Like
Which
it's
one?
Roma.
Roma.
It's so the sonic inclusion of the audience in that movie is so you're just like I am in Mexico. It's actually real. It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible film. Brilliant.
Yeah. Really, really good. I'm just looking at a trailer to it. Oh, amazing. Yeah, also a Netflix film.
Yeah, no, all their top of the line stuff is A+. Like I would say the only movie I don't like the photography of, that one of the bigs did, is I really don't like the way The Irishman looks.
Yes.
The Irishman looks like a TV movie for me.
I am worried. Wanted to go see what's the
Killers of the Flower Moon. Yep.
A little worried.
I hear
there's
so many competing complaints in that movie. It's insane to me. Like, it's like, because you have people like, I don't want to make it a political thing, but like the reason why I haven't seen this movie is because I want to wait for the politically inflected opinions to die down, so I can just watch it as a movie and then say I like this movie or whatever, without people saying ugly political things. Okay. And man, they got it's gotten very heated in many film groups in ways that have nothing to do with the film whatsoever.
No, so I'm just all about Native Americans, how they're treated or portrayed.
Right.
A friend of mine is a director. Right. Not happy about
because you have Native folks that are seeing the movie and saying this is a embarrassing, pitying way to portray Native Americans. It's totally inaccurate and it's very offensive. And then you have the cast of the movie saying, anybody, just like you think this is bad, you should see the fucking Yellowstone, and those guys are racists, and you're just like, everybody just chill out. That's
right.
Like, everyone relax, just calm down.
So is Scorsese getting heat?
No, actually, he's come out kind of unscathed.
I don't know.
Like, the movie itself.
Do you think that he might be getting a little too old to do movies?
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't seen this
Irishman.
Because I rewatched The Irishman recently, and I like The Irishman very much. It is a very slow movie, but I like it.
You like about it is the actors and seeing them together again. Like, oh yeah.
There's a
familiarity about it.
I like them. I would think the problem with that movie is I don't like the look and the digital.
It's like Pink Floyd coming
stuff
back
doesn't
again to
work.
do one last show.
But like I will wait until I see Killers of the Flower Moon.
Final tour of Elton John.
Yeah,
right.
Like, I'm gonna wait until I see Killers of the Flower Moon.
Candle in the wind.
Like, I think that like Irishman for me would have been better if it were tighter. I think that's true. It's a little bit long and slack, but it is a good movie, and we just want to see what happens with this one. Like, I like DiCaprio, I like everybody in the cast, and like it looked like a good ad, so I'd like to see it. And certainly, like, I love Scorsese in general, so I will see it, but I just don't want to see it and then get into fights, like, which is pretty much. Yeah, like, that's just a killer for my interest in movies now. It's just like, I don't want to see movies where it's a political hot button, because then I'm just going to be fucking stuck yakking about that stuff. Like, I want to see a movie and say, this is a good movie, or we can argue whether the movie's any good. That's fine.
Sure.
But like, it's such a giant fucking waste of time to talk about whether or not there's enough Emily Blunt time in Oppenheimer. Just like, make a different movie. Like, make a different movie.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I know I said I wanted to be a little shorter today, and I think we did it.
There it is. Yes, you have you have a heart out, so that's all right.
I did have a heart out. I'm going to go see Tom Papa tonight. I'm very excited about it.
Nice.
Tom Papa is great. He does. If you haven't seen him, you should go to Netflix. And if you need a good stand-up show that is going to just make you feel better about yourself, which is rare because most stand-up shows depress you by making fun of you.
Yeah.
Watch Tom Papa's show called "You're Doing Great."
Sounds amazing. I love it. It sounds like a new
post-pandemic is like the perfect show. It's hilarious.
Oh, I love it. Okay,
and he's great. He's like, "You're doing great. You're doing great." And he's like, talking about just, it's okay if you want to be in your underwear all day. You're doing
great. I'll do my Gene Stapleton again.
Do it again.
I can't. No, I'm on command. I can't. I'm pee shy.
Like,
but yeah.
Everyone's so popular.
It's so good. My recommendations outside of The Killer, which I can't wait to talk about, whether people like it or not, I can't wait to talk about that movie. My recommendations, my old movies that I had not seen were recommended many, many times to me, and I finally caught up with Cure and Pulse, both by Kiyoshi what's his last name? Kurosawa. Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure and Pulse are fucking incredible movies. And I just watched them on Tubi. So yeah, Tubi. Don't pay for it. Get Tubi.
But you know what's interesting now is when you thought about like so we had shows, right? That would have cliffhanger moments for ads all the time.
Oh yeah,
right. So editing was around shows was made for ads, right? To make sure the ads would work.
100%.
And then Netflix came along and says there is no ads,
right?
And so that means that it doesn't have to be 26 minutes or 23 minutes to accommodate ads, and we don't need to have these specific moments of breaks that do that. And so all of them were much more controlled, good editing, not to be broken up into these act 1, 2, and 3 situations. And then what's happening now is that they're introducing ads, and it's giving these awkward breaks in the middle of these shows
because they're not designed for this stuff anymore. Yeah.
So now they're designing them back into it.
Of course. Like the thing is, like, it can have a positive effect because the television in the 60s was like designed their act system around the ads. And it turns out you can write very tightly if you know what your time block is. And that's good. But 90s television, like the ad blocks were so long, they just had to cram fucking shit in there or just have scenes that nothing happened for 20 minutes to spin their wheels to get to the end.
Right.
And it was just useless. And so like there's an opportunity for them to do sharp work. They're not going to do it. But it's like how I feel about intermissions. I'm like, everyone's against having intermissions. But I'm just like, first of all, you get to pee. Second of all, it forces the movie to have actual acts. So you have to make a good movie for an hour. And then you have to make a good movie for another hour because if the first hour is bad, people leave. Like Lawrence of Arabia has 2 distinct acts and it makes the movie very, very clear.
And it's split with an intermission.
Yeah, it's it can be useful. If you're going to bring the ads back, think about that. That's all. They're not going to. No one listens to this show.
No one listens to this show. No one listens to the show, but they should listen to this show. If you do happen to be one of the people listening to the show, make sure you let people know to listen to this show.
Anybody who listens to Tarantino's podcast should listen to this show.
Yes,
that's right.
Because it's the same show, but better.
It's the same show, except we're not famous. It's exactly the same show.
The same show with less recognizable faces.
That's right. Actually, I love that show. It's a great show. But yes, please spread the word.
Spread the word. Remember, on YouTube now, we are streaming there. YouTube is youtube.com/@martinigiant. Pretty straightforward.
And you can hit us up on Twitter at Martini_giant. Yep.
Not Twitter anymore, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's on fucking Musk. On Musk. Hit us up on Musk.
And then we're also on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Martini_giant.
Yes, that's right.
And blah, 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 blah. Or just go to martinigiant.com to find out more. But anyway.
That's right. And join our Discord. There we are. That's it.
Join our Discord. All right. Are you guys ready to wrap this up?
Let's do it.
We're ready to rock.
All right. Drink.
Talk.
Drink.